Hello, I'm Chi Xueyi and today I'll be talking about market failure in externalities. So first of all, what are externalities? Externalities are benefits or costs that are not taken into account in a market transaction. And why is it a market failure, you might ask? Well, that's because the equilibrium price of the good or service does not actually represent its costs and benefits. Now, there are two types of externalities: positive externalities and negative externalities. Goods or services with positive externalities are goods or services that has more benefits than are considered by private agents in the market. Two very good examples of positive externalities are education and healthcare. Education is considered a positive externality because private agents do not consider the long-term benefits of getting an education, such as usually getting a more higher paying job. As for healthcare, a country with citizens that are healthier are less prone to disease and viruses that are more transmittable among people. On the other hand, goods or services with negative externalities has more costs than are considered by private agents in the market. Two examples of goods or services with negative externalities are smoking and gas cars. When smoking cigarettes, smokers also let out secondhand smoke. This secondhand smoke is dangerous to be breathed in by people around them. This is because breathing in secondhand smoke will lead to higher risk of lung cancer as well as heart diseases. Gas cars are also considered a good with negative externalities. This is because when driving a gas car, a lot of fossil fuels are combusted to power the engine. As a result, greenhouse gases are emitted out into the atmosphere. These gases contribute to climate change and global warming, which might lead to several cities being submerged in water in the future because of the melting of icebergs. Next, I want to talk about the effect of externalities on the Australian economy. In 2018, Australia ranks second in the world for greenhouse gas emissions per capita, equivalent to 21.51 metric tons of carbon dioxide, just behind Iceland. This might be because of Australia's high reliance on fossil fuels as an energy source. In the years 2018 to 2019, 93.7% of energy was from fossil fuels such as gas, oil, and coal. Aiming to reduce this figure, the Australian government has invested 3.5 billion Australian dollars to several projects such as the development of a national strategy for electric vehicles and pump hydro projects. In fact, just recently, New South Wales scrapped the taxes on electric vehicles because they want to encourage the use of electric vehicles on the road. Next, I want to talk about smoking health costs in Australia. In the years 2015 to 16, a study done by the National Drug Research Institute by Curtin University found that smoking cost Australia $136.9 billion. This includes $1.8 billion in premature mortality, as well as $6.8 billion in healthcare. Looking to reduce this figure, the Australian government has increased the tobacco excise per stick from 26 cents in 2010 to 80 cents in 2019. Over that same period of time, the proportion of daily smokers in the Australian adult population has also decreased from 15.1% in 2010 to 11% in 2019. Next, I want to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine. The Australian government has set an 80% target for its population to be fully vaccinated before opening its borders to other countries. However, as of the 7th of August this year, 21.8% of the Australian population has reported to be hesitant to get vaccinated. This might lead to a slower rate of vaccination, which will result in a longer time for the economy to recover. However, the vaccination rate of Australia is steadily increasing ever since vaccinations have started. Next, I'm going to discuss the articles that I have chosen to improve my understanding of the issue. The first article I've chosen is titled New South Wales Scraps Taxes on Electric Vehicles by The Star. The negative externality that is being aimed at in this article is the greenhouse gases that are emitted by gas cars through the combustion of fossil fuels. With the decrease on taxes on electric vehicles, the supply of electric vehicles will be increased. This will lead to a new equilibrium between demand and supply at a lower price at a higher quantity, as shown on the diagram on the left. Since electric vehicles are a substitute good to gas cars, the fall in price of electric vehicles will lead to a decrease in demand of the gas cars. This decrease in demand will lead to a lower equilibrium quantity, which will reduce the number of gas cars being purchased, which ultimately leads to less greenhouse gases being emitted to the atmosphere. Second article I have chosen to discuss is titled Smoking Costs Australia Close to $137 billion by Morgan Liotta of NewsGP. The negative externality being targeted here is the healthcare cost to third parties and the smoker themselves, as well as intangible costs such as premature deaths and years of life loss due to serious illnesses. The article says that smoking has cost Australia close to $137 billion, including $6.8 billion in healthcare costs as well as $118 billion in intangible costs such as years of life loss from premature deaths and a decrease in quality of life due to serious illness. The third article I have chosen to discuss is titled Head of Australia's COVID Vaccine Strategy, Not Ruling Out Cash Incentives to Achieve 80% Target by Sarah Martin from The Guardian. What this article is saying is that Australia might use cash incentives to try to achieve the 80% vaccination target that was set beforehand. This is because while right now demand still outstrips supply, when reaching about 70 to 75% vaccination levels, it might be harder to encourage those citizens that are hesitant to come out and get vaccinated to reach the 80% target. Therefore, they might use a cash incentive to encourage these citizens. If you look at the diagram below, P0 is the current price to get vaccinated in Australia, which is $0, because the Australian government is providing vaccinations for free to the citizens right now. However, in the future, there is a possibility that a cash incentive amount might be offered. Now, since the old price was $0, a cash incentive means a negative price because you will be receiving money when you go get vaccinated. So this decrease in price will lead to an expansion of demand, which is at a higher quantity. The Australian government will try to supply any amount of demand there is at that point. Therefore, this will increase the rate of vaccinations, which will help reopen the economy faster. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.